Hi, I'm Cautex, and the Warrior Trees were just released yesterday, and I've spent an inordinate amount of time looking through them, coming up with ideas, doing some napkin math, writing notes, and things like that. And so let's just talk about what it is that I think about these builds. Let's come up with some builds. Let's just talk about the issues that I see and the things that I think are really good and what they did well, and let's just go from there. Like I said, I have a little bit of notes, but I don't really have a script for this like I normally do, so just bear with me. Now, we're going to start with arms, and we're going to talk about single target, because I think that the bread and butter for both of these builds is the single target. Now, the AoE options are very interesting, and there's a lot of potential for some wacky, weird stuff for both arms and fury, but we'll get to that when we start talking AoE. Anyway, now, starting out, let's do the class tree as an arms warrior, and you're going to take Berserker stance. Right now, the stances, as they've said, are not really implemented yet. The thing is that in reality, you're pretty much always, at least as written right now, and this is going to change, at least I certainly hope so, is that you would always be in battle stance, because that's functionally a 3% damage increase, whereas this is a 5% damage increase to only a small component of your damage. And that would be true even for Fury. Now, you're going to want to take increased movement speed. You're going to want to take Leech, though, at least as a baseline. Now, in reality, in fight-specific things, yeah, rather than do the Leech, you get Berserker Rage and then Heroic Leap, fine, or you get Rallying Cry and then Double Time, but you're always going to move down to Double Time. So we're there, and then we're going to get Honed Reflexes, we're going to grab the Leech, and we're going to get Furious Blows. Now, the next thing that you pretty much need to do is you need to fill so that you get 8 required, and because where I'm looking to go is that I want to get Dauntless Duelist, I'm going to need to take this point right here, and Impending Victory just seems like the better play. Now, next up, we want to fill out and get Die by the Sword, we want to get Dauntless Duelist, and we want to get Frothing Berserker, so you just kind of fill on down, right? Get Bounding Stride. That's probably more valuable overall rather than Shattering Throw. Situationally, you're going to get Overwhelming Rage, and you're going to get Frothing Berserker. Fine. War Machine, that's pretty okay. It's not super amazing. It's going to be really good in AoE, but being able to just have that and all your other stuff is pretty great. More damage for Slam, and then Dauntless Duelist. All right, then we're going to grab Rend. We're going to grab Armor to the Teeth, which is really overpowered, especially because of a feedback loop that is created with reinforced plates. I'll talk about the math behind that and just how good it is when we get to reinforced plates and why you absolutely have to take reinforced plates and Armor to the Teeth, but we'll get there. Then you're going to take Die by the Sword. The thing that sucks about Die by the Sword is the fact that, well, it sucks for Arms Warriors. It is amazing for every other spec in that now Fury Warriors can have Die by the Sword and Enraged Regen, right? Prot Warriors get an extra cooldown, which is really good. That's all fine and dandy, but Arms Warriors don't get anything to compensate for it, right? Everybody else gets this fancy new trick, but Arms just doesn't have anything to gain for it. Now, we need to backfill a little bit in order to get our 20 required, because we're at 17. Okay, so this is where you start taking some utility, but there's still one more obvious throughput for single target that we need to take. We got to take Massacre. Okay, now we have 2 points to spend on whatever. You're going to take Rally, and I would probably argue that you need to take Spell Reflect, right? If you're going to be in a raid, if you're going to be in a group, having a raid CD and then having Spell Reflect is just a no-brainer. Those are your obvious choices. You could, if there's no spell damage that's reflectable in a fight, yeah, sure, okay, fine, get Inspiring Presence or get Berserker Rage or something like that. Fine. But in terms of overall, on average play, I would say Rally and Spell Reflect is probably the best choice, but your mileage may vary. All right, now that we've unlocked this, let's talk about Reinforced Plates. Reinforced Plates increases your armor by 60% of your strength, and Armor to the Teeth increases your strength by 10% of your armor value. As it stands right now, if this were implemented in the game right now, that would increase your strength by 16%, right? On my baseline character, I have 2,000 strength, basically, and I have 1,800 armor. if I had these two talents, I would come out of it with 23 strength and 32 26 armor. That would increase my strength by 16.12% and my armor by 76.1%. For 3 talent points, that is that's 3 points that you're spending, and you're getting a 16% damage increase from that, because strength is attack power and everything is functionally based off of attack power. So they're going to have to mess with these numbers. I suspect that they're going to nerf Armor to the Teeth down to potentially even just a 1% of your armor is you gain strength equal to 1% of your armor. But, like, we're going to have to wait and see. They're going to have to do something here because that's just too good. All right. Anyway, after that, take Avatar. And here's where things are kind of weird. On the one hand, I like it. On the other hand, I don't. I'm just not sure how to really feel about the fact that they put the actual capstones not at the very end. They put it right before the end, the line right before the end. And that's kind of weird. So let's just moving on, because I actually have no idea what I'm saying. But it's strange to me, and I don't really like it. On the other hand, I do, because it gives you the ability to take a whole bunch of other things. All right, now you're going to take Spirit Bastion. It's just a really strong button, right? It's on a 1-minute CD, and even if you don't take the capstone to buff it in any way, that is 230% of attack power done. And it's AoE on a 1-minute cooldown, and it gives you rage. That's a simply just amazingly strong button. And so you're guaranteed to take that almost every time. All right, next, you're going to take two-handed weapon specialization. And frankly, I also take Thunderous Roar, and that's because I'm more interested in this bleed build, which would use Blood Surge. Now, I don't know how good it is, because the inherent problem with Thunderous Roar is that it's a very underwhelming talent. It's a very underwhelming talent. It does 80% of attack power total, and that's over 9 seconds fine. It is an AoE ability. It doesn't generate rage, and it's on a 45-second cooldown, right? So 80% on a 45-second cooldown, or 230% on a 1-minute cooldown. So it's 15 seconds longer, and it generates rage, and it does a whole lot more. It does more than double. Or, yeah, it does more than double. So it just, this is going to have to get fixed. Even if you add in Thunderous Aftershocks, it's not that great of a talent. Now, we have, 1 second. All right. We have 1 point left. And in my opinion, the best place to put that talent is Elysian Might. It might be okay to put it into two-handed weapon specialization, but I would suspect that it is better. Now, in the scenario where the bleed build, where Blood Surge is not really all that valuable, you would probably swap out Thunderous Roar for the second point in two-handed weapon spec. That would be likely what I'm doing. But yeah, in terms of a standard single target arms build, this is probably what I would run with for the class tree. Now, let's talk about how to build up the spec tree. And again, I'm under the assumption that this that Blood Surge is good. Maybe. It might be good, it might not be. It's a little hard to say from the sidelines. Anyway, we get that. We get Overpower, fine. We get Barbaric Training. We get Tactician. We get Improved Execute. Just get everything. All right. Now, here's where things are a little odd. Because, well, actually, before we get to that, we're going to get Accelerating Blows. And we are for sure going to get Martial Prowess. And we're going to get Sudden Death. For sure we're doing this. We're going to hold off on this side for a second. We're going to get Colossus Smash. We're going to get Improved Mortal Strike. Now, In for the Kill or Test of Might, earlier on in the expansion, when your haste levels are lower, In for the Kill is probably going to be better than Test of Might. And then later on in the expansion, when you have a lot more haste and you're able to just burn through rage, Test of Might is going to eventually scale better than In for the Kill. At least that's my gut feeling. I don't have any actual math on this. Gut feelings. I'm going to run with Test of Might just because Test of Might was really cool. Then we're going to get Juggernaut. Now we need to start doing other things. And this is where things are a little weird in terms of the positioning of buttons. Now, we want to get Impale. Increasing your critical strike damage is a huge thing. That is a huge value for your talents, which means that we have two choices. We can either get Fervor of Battle, which is throughput, or we can get Fueled by Violence, which is not throughput. The problem is that Fervor of Battle is a stinky talent. At least in my opinion, it is a stinky talent. Yes, it does more DPS because it makes it so that your 30 rage gets more damage per rage because you're getting a slam and a whirlwind out of it. However, because now you're spending 30 rage on your dump talent, or on your filler, you are not able to control your rage as finely as you would if you're able to just only be spending 20 rage on slams. And so I'm not a fan of Fervor of Battle, but in terms of just throughput, Fervor of Battle is probably the play, and that sucks because Fueled by Violence is honestly a great survivability talent. It's just a nice little bit of self-healing. And so I don't know how I feel about having Fervor of Battle here. Now, you're going to get Impale, and then I'm going to go with Improved Overpower. Deadly Calm is kind of stinky. It is good for execute phases, but it breaks the way that warriors, like the arms warrior gameplay loop functions, right? Because the gameplay loop is all about getting tactician procs, which means that you have to spend rage. If you're not spending rage, you're not getting tactician procs. And so, okay, what are you going to do for those 4 abilities? It's weird. It's good in execute, but it's not good other places. Editing Cautex here. Another problem with Deadly Calm is that it gets worse as the expansion goes on. Early on in the expansion, when your rage generation is bad and it's harder to afford to fill up all of your GCDs, then Deadly Calm has some value. However, as you're getting more gear and getting better rage generation, Deadly Calm becomes less valuable. It has diminishing returns, which is kind of the opposite of what you want out of your cooldowns. Anyway, I really wish that they would have split Dreadnought, because having it be 2 charges is very important for maximizing the value of Tactician and also Martial Prowess, but it also has this AoE component. I felt like they could have split this, but I'm fine with it being on a single talent just because, well, okay, then I don't need to spend it on 2 things. It seems weird that they just slapped it in there without really changing anything. All right, moving on. Like I said, I'm going for Blood Surge, which means that I have to take Sweeping Strikes, which kind of sucks because this is a single target build, and if we're assuming that we're doing single target only, I'm not going to use Sweeping Strikes. I'm never going to use it. So why? Why is it there? Now, I get that Blood Surge has some viability in AoE as well, so that's probably what they're thinking, but because it appears that it would be viable in single target, it feels bad having to take Sweeping Strikes to get it. Now, let's talk about the choice between Exploit the Weakness and Punishment. As written, and there's a couple ways that Exploit the Weakness could work in-game, but as written, which is that Tactician's chance to trigger is increased as if you spent 3% more rage, that is garbage. That is completely garbage, right? 3% of a Mortal Strike, which is 30 rage, is less than 1 rage. So that would add basically a 1.4% chance of getting an overpower or a reset on overpower. So as it is written, Exploit the Weakness is terrible. And so you just have to go with Punishment, which basically turns Execute into Condemn. So we get that. And then we get Blood Surge, so that our periodic bleeds are going to give us rage, so that we can then spend that rage, hopefully, on Mortal Strikes. Because this is going to be a sort of a Mortal Strike spam-ish type build. Alright, now we have unlocked the next layer. Let's go. You have to get Skull Banner. It is just too good. It is simply too good. So we are for sure getting Skull Banner. If you want to be an ethical gamer, you're getting Skull Banner. Next, the thing that we want to look for is, I'm going for Fatality, which if you've played in Emerald Palace, or Eternal Palace, sorry, Jeez. It's Ink Pod. This is Ink Pod, but instead of it just auto-procking, it just attaches it to your execute. This is really fun. This is really cool. I'm a big fan of this. All right. Now, I chose to go with Bloodletting, and that was in order to make it so that I don't have to spend as much rage on Rend, because it's going to last longer, and it's also just simply going to increase the value of Thunderous Roar, which is already kind of stinky, and it's going to just make it better for Blood Surge. It might not be necessary to do this, right? Depending on how much rage you're getting out of Blood Surge, and depending on how much rage you're getting naturally, you might not need to do this, and so it's hard to say. Now, you have... I'm sorry, I don't know why it keeps scrolling down a little bit each time. But now we have 1 point to spend somewhere. We have 1 point to spend somewhere, and so what we're going to do is that I'm going to put it in Battlelord. I'm going to put that in Battlelord, and the alternative that what you can do is that you could just say, to heck with Sweeping Strikes. We're going to go down, and we're going to get Anger Management. We're going to get that. We're going to get Skull Banner. We're going to get Exploiter, and then we're going to get Battlelord and Fatality. And then you could also get Bloodborne with this build. So, but then you're losing out on Blood Surge. So if you're going the bleed heavy stuff, you kind of want Blood Surge, but at the same time, right, it's hard to get Blood Surge and all the bleed heavy stuff and maintain Skull Banner. It is absolutely doable. So, all right, sorry, I had to take a break and get some water, but all right. The thing is that this section of Sweeping Strikes, Punishment, and Blood Surge is a bit of a question mark to me. Because those are 3 points that you could be spending on, for example, Anger Management and also Exploiter. So it's hard to say. It's hard to say what's going to be good. We're going to have to do some math. We're going to have to play around with it. But right now, this is kind of what I'm leaning towards for a single target build as arms. Now, let's talk about Fury. Let's talk about Fury. So, the class build is going to be much the same. And Fury has some more decisions that it needs to make in the spec tree. And so, I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to be going through that, because, again, we're doing this off the cuff. But let's just start talking. Get the Leech, get Battle Stance, get the movement speed, get Double Time, get Honed Reflexes, get Heroic Leap, get Furious Blows. So far, same exact thing. Again, we're going to want all three of the mid-tier talents, right? We want Die by the Sword, we want Dauntless Duelist, and we want Frothing Berserker. So, we fill in. All right, now we have that unlocked. For sure. Bounding Stride, Overwhelming Rage, Frothing Berserker, fine. Get Impending Victory or Piercing Howl. Get War Machine. Now we have Crushing Force. This is a dead talent. This is a dead talent for Fury. It's simply dead. But it's still probably worth it to take it in order to get Dauntless Duelist, right? The thing is that now we're taking that 3% increase and we're spreading it across 2 talents. So it's a 1.5% increase per talent, which is pretty good, right? That is a pretty average value for that talent, at least from my napkin math. This is, frankly, these 2 talents are worth more than Thunderous Roar. Even if you get some things to buff it, it is still worth more than baseline Thunderous Roar. So that's just how good that is, even with a talent that does literally nothing for Fury. So that sucks. I'm not a fan of that. I wish that it would do something, I don't know, maybe increase the damage of Raging Blow. Right? Because we have things that are buffing Bloodthirst here. But I don't know what else they would want to do here. But something should be done to Crushing Force to make it so that it doesn't feel so bad to take it as Fury. Anyway, take Massacre, take Armor to the Teeth, take Die by the Sword. Now we need a backfill. And here's where things get weird. And I don't want this to be true. But there is a world where Fury takes Rend. And that is because... Let's pull up my math. All right. So, with Rampage, which is our normal rage spender, and improved Rampage, if you math that out, you're going to, on the button press, you're going to be doing around 250% of your attack power, and you're going to do that for 80 rage. Compare that with Rend, which is going to be 165.1% of your attack power for 30 rage. If you look at that in terms of how much attack power you're dealing versus how much rage you're spending, right? So basically, you would just take the attack power, the percentage of attack power, and you divide it by the rage cost. Rampage is worth 3.1% of attack power per rage spent, and Rend is worth 5.5% of attack power per rage spent. Now, this is going to get offset by the fact that with improved Rampage, it's going to cause an rage, and that is a lot of value. But in terms of just pure, raw rage efficiency, it might be worth taking Rend as Fury. And that's kind of weird. Again, I don't want this to be true. I don't think that this would be true going live, but it's possible. It is certainly very possible. Anyway, moving on. Now we need to backfill some more so that we can get to the next row. Take Spell Reflect, and now we actually have it unlocked. Okay. Then, what we want to do is we want to get the most valuable buttons, and so the way I see things going is, at least for me, what is most fun is what I call a gas pedal build. And the gas pedal build is the one where you're just constantly slamming cooldowns, and that means you're going to get Signet of Tormented Kings, and you're just going to have a lot of buttons that make you do a lot of cooldowns all the time. Now, we definitely need Reinforced Plates because as I mentioned, it has an insane feedback loop, and so we just have to take that. Now we're going to get Avatar. Great. We have an extra CD as Fury. We're going to get Signet of Tormented Kings, and then we're going to get Elysian Might. Now, what we're going to do with our last talents, which we have 3 of, is we have a choice to make, right? We could get Thunderous Roar, or we could get Dual Wield Specialization. And the answer is always Dual Wield Spec. Always. Because this is worth about 1%-ish DPS increase, and this is just a 5% straight DPS increase. So this is a 5% button, this is about a 1 to maybe 2% button. Even with getting Bloodborne, which increases the bleed damage, which we might even not get. Dual Wield Spec is the better play. All right. Now, let's build out the tree. We're going to go get Bloodthirst, get Raging Blow, fine. Get Improved Execute, get Improved Enrage, get Improved Raging Blow, get Improved Bloodthirst, fine. We've gotten all of our throughput stuff initially. Get Enraged Regen, fine. Get Sudden Death. That's all of our throughput. And then all of the utility nodes we just don't take. And then it unlocks it, right? So, from there, we have to get Rampage. We have to get Improved Rampage. We have to get Recklessness. And Frenzy, for being a 1-point talent, is just so strong, we have to get it. Next, we have to get Focus and Chaos, because that's just incredibly strong. And here's where things get weird. Titan's Grip is locked behind Improved Whirlwind. That's dumb. I am not a fan of this, right? This is something that is always good no matter what for Fury. And then you get Single-Minded Fury. Fine. Easy. This is something that is not always good for Fury, right? If there's no multiple targets, who cares about Whirlwind hitting extra targets? I feel like the better solution here would be to swap Cruelty and Improved Whirlwind, right? Then you have the 2 Whirlwind nodes in a line with each other, and that makes sense. They synergize well. Great. This would also then synergize with Improved Raging Blow. Hey, if you're going to go on the right side of the tree, we're buffing Raging Blow. Fine. It just makes no sense why they put it in this order. And so let's start out by talking about a Single-Minded Fury build. Because right now, the Single-Minded Fury build is frankly the more interesting build to me. It makes more sense. However, there are some potentially really good Raging Blow builds that are Titan's Grip. Anyway, let's let's start out with the single-minded Fury build and just kind of show what that's like. And this is all, again, the single-minded Fury build is all about Bloodthirst. All right, so we get single-minded Fury, which is literally a one button, hey, increases your damage by 12%. That's offset by the fact that now we have to use one-handers rather than two, but okay, fine. Frenzied Flurry is a great talent, and also, it's going to vastly increase the value of crit for Fury, or for single-minded Fury. The stat priority for single-minded Fury is very clearly they want it to be haste and crit. Right? They want you to just be like a jackhammer, and you just want to smash through things, and you want to crit a whole bunch. Okay. So we're gonna get Blood Craze, because that's just gonna make your Bloodthirst crit more often, which, hey, we want that. And then for sure, we're gonna get Cold Steel Hot Blood. Now we have a choice that we need to make between Vicious Contempt and Fresh Meat, and this is just gonna be a math problem. This is just a simple math problem of what's gonna sim better, and I don't know the answer to that, but for just the sake of an arbitrary choice, we're gonna take Vicious Contempt. Okay? Once we've done that, hey, look, now we've unlocked our next nodes. Great. Get Critical Thinking. We're going to get Odin's Fury, for sure. And we're going to get Cadence, because these are insane. Now, we have the choice between Sidearm, and we have the choice between Annihilator. In single target, Annihilator is the play, so we're going to get that. Now, we have, how many points? We have 5 points to spend. And here's where we have to make decisions about what we're going to do with Recklessness. You can either get Anger Management, or you can get, I'm sorry, I had a brain fart. Reckless Abandon. There we go. I am a big fan of getting Signet and Anger Management. However, it is simply a math problem whether or not it's going to be better to get Signet and Anger Management or get Reckless Abandon. So I'm going with it there, and that's fine. And again, it's another simple math problem that we need to make between Depths of Insanity and Hack and Slash. And, well, it's not really that. It's also between Fresh Meat, Depths of Insanity, and Hack and Slash. So, in my opinion, for sure, I want 1 point in Hack and Slash, because that just makes it so that I'm less likely to need to fill a GCD with Whirlwind. I want to have a Raging Blow chance as much as I can, so that way I just don't have to fill with Whirlwind, because that sucks. And in my opinion, given that Recklessness is already 12 seconds, I'm leaning towards Fresh Meat as being the next choice rather than Depths of Insanity, but again, it's more of a simple math problem. The other choice that we have is that we could take Bloodborne. I don't know. Maybe that's better. Maybe it's not. This is a pretty straightforward problem that Sims will be able to answer, is that what's better between Hack and Slash, or the second point in Hack and Slash, getting Depths of Insanity, getting Bloodborne, or getting Fresh Meat. But you're going to do something with that point, and that's fine. The thing that sucks about this build is that there's like no chance to take any utility, right? Yet there was never a consideration, hey, can I take Warpaint? Or hey, should I take Invigorating Fury so I don't die? Or hey, do I take Concussive Blows? Everything is throughput. There is no, like, oh yeah, I can do interesting things. The only time you get utility is here, and that's because you simply have to get to the good stuff. So that kind of sucks. All right, now let's back this up, and let's talk about a Titan script build. So let's back that up. Oh, back that up. All right. Now, for sure, it starts out the exact same way. You still got to go down the middle. You still got to get Recklessness. You still got to get Rampage. You still got to get Frenzy, all that stuff. Right? We're there. And you still really want Focus and Chaos, because that's really valuable for Rage Generation. Excuse me. All right. Now, you have to get Improved Whirlwind, even though that's a single target thing, and we're making a single target build right now. That kind of sucks. Get Titan Script, get Wrath of Fury, get Cruelty. For sure. You for sure got to do this. Now, you have some interesting choices you can make. On the one hand, you can kind of go a bit of, like, try to do the best of both worlds play, and you can get Cold Steel Hot Blood and Blood Craze. You can do that, and then it unlocks the bottom of the tree. Or, rather than doing, like, adding some value to Bloodthirst, we can go Onslaught and get Onslaught and Pulverize, which makes Onslaught a much more competitive proposition for maximizing and range uptime. I think, again, that's a math problem, and that is a problem that's going to be solved with sims, because it's a lot of just range modeling and things like that. But that's really the choices that you're going to have to decide between, is adding some value to Bloodthirst or getting Onslaught and committing to that. Once you're there, though, you're for sure going to take this, and Ravager is actually really good. For a 45-second cooldown and how much rage it generates, that is a really strong button. That's a very strong button. Now, because we have Signet of Tormented Kings, I like the sort of accelerationist or gas pedal build, and so we're going to get some haste, and then we're going to get anger management, and then for sure we're going to get hack and slash. I like to grab Odin's Fury here. I think that that's the play. Now, there's a world where you don't get anger management, you take a Reckless Abandon. Again, math problem. Alternatively, you could get Odin's, rather than Odin's Fury, you could get Siegebreaker. It's between the two. I think Odin's Fury is probably more fun, but Siegebreaker might very well be better, just because of that 15% increased damage that you get for 10 seconds. The problem that I have here is that Deafening Crash, Storm of Steel, and all these other bottom nodes, they kind of suck. They're not that great. I mean, they're okay, but they're not good. They're just not good. So that's kind of where we're at for single target with Fury, right? It's either Titan's Grip with a very Raging Blow heavy playstyle, or it's Bloodthirst with a very... it's not Bloodthirst with a Bloodthirst playstyle. It's Single-Minded Fury with a Bloodthirst playstyle. I'm kind of okay with this. My gut says that the Single-Minded Fury build might actually be better. But having Ravager, especially when you have Anger Management and Signet of Tormented Kings, right? So you're gonna get more Ravagers, and it's gonna, because Ravager's on a 45-second cooldown, that also means more recklessness, that also means more avatars, and etc. That seems really strong. And so it's hard to say at this point which is going to be better, but again, we're gonna have to play with it, we're gonna have to sim it out, we're gonna figure it out. It'll get figured out eventually. We hope. Alright. Now let's talk about AoE. Because here's where things get a little bit messy once again. Alright. Let's reset this build. Bang. Have it reload. Alright. Alright. Let's start off with Fury this time. Let's talk about some AoE. Now, I honestly want to... let's start off with the Fury tree rather than going over and doing the class tree first. Just because, well, why not? So, start out the same. Get our usual stuff. Great, fine. Get Improved Whirlwind because we have to do that. Next, we need Meat Cleaver for sure. Meat Cleaver is just huge. We need Sudden Death. We need these. All right, fine. We need that. Let's pretend we want to be a Single-Minded Fury build. Let's just play Let's Pretend. Let's say we want to do that. Right, we're there. We got to get that. Okay. The optimal thing to do would be get Ravager, and then get Swift Strikes, Anger Management, and Odin's Fury. Now, we want Blood Craze, or we want Fresh Meat. I don't know which is better, but this is probably where we're at for this. Now, we could get Bloodborne, which is going to increase our bleeds. I'm not a fan of that. I think that that's kind of stinky. But now we have a whole bunch of choices that are pretty good, right? We could get that, fine. We could get Hack and Slash for more GCD filling, but I don't think that this is going to be as valuable in AoE. In fact, I'm almost positive that it won't be, because we're going to have a whole bunch of other buttons that we're going to be wanting to spend. But that's a different question. But yeah, we can't get Sidearm. We can't. We just it's just not a thing. All right, pausing for a second. This is me during the edit, and the thing about Sidearm is actually that it's not that we can't ever get it, it's just the fact that there's no reason to ever get it, because it's just not that valuable in a situation where you have to decide between Sidearm or Odin's Fury. You're just never going to do that. So, Sidearm is sort of dead for Single-Minded Fury in this case. It's in a weird spot. We have just a lot of choices that we need to make. Right? Fresh meat, blood craze, and yeah, we have 1 point to spend it. Depths of Insanity, hack and slash. Or we could be crazy and just do some button bloat and get Siegebreaker, which adds to the burst. Now, ignoring that point, just because I'm indecisive, let's start building out the class tree. Right? Do our standard stuff. Movement speed, leech, heroic leap, double time, honed reflexes, furious blows. Now, let's backfill, get rallying cry. For sure, seismic reverb. Now you're not going to get bounding stride, you're not going to get shattering throw, because now you can actually use the throughput on that. Get these, again, same idea. However, this talent is much less valuable, and so we're going to do something a bit different, right? We're going to get Rend, and then we're going to get Thunderclap, and then we're going to get Blood and Thunder as Fury, as single. And here's where things kind of suck, because, okay, hey, we want to increase the value of our bleeds. Why doesn't that increase Rend's value? It's almost like they don't want us to take Rend, and yet they give us the choice of taking Rend. It's strange to me that they want to increase the bleed damage, but they don't increase one of our bleed damage options that we could reasonably want to take. I don't know. It's just that's kind of weird to me. Anyway, get Armor to the Teeth, get Die by the Sword. Now, we can choose between Dauntless Duelist or Massacre, or frankly, the other thing that we could do is that we could get Impending Victory and War Machine. Now, we have a choice to make between Dauntless Duelist, Massacre, or Utility. Sorry. In my opinion, I'm almost more partial to Massacre, because this is only a 3% on one target, and Massacre you can cleave it with Whirlwind, so let's go with that. But it sucks not taking Spell Reflect. It sucks not having that utility. But when you have to decide between utility and throughput, you're gonna probably just default to taking the throughput, and so that's unfortunate. Anyway, get Reinforced Plates because it's just too good. Get Avatar, great. We have all of these buttons, all of these AoE buttons. Might as well put our pedal to the floor. Might as well hit the gas pedal and get Signet. Then we got to get Spear Bastion, and we're going to want to get Elysian Might. Now, if the ads are dying really quickly, then you would get Piercing Verdict. That's really the difference between the two, is that for any time when they're going to live long enough, Elysian Might is better. But if they're going to die super fast so that you're not going to get the full value out of Elysian Might, then Piercing Verdict will be better. Okay, so we get Elysian Might, and then we have 3 points to spend. You could get Thunderous Roar, and that would be good for high target AoE. For lower target AoE, dual spec, because that's just 5% damage. Once again, this looks really similar to our single target build. The only difference here is that instead of getting Crushing Force and Dauntless Duelist, is that we're getting Thunderclap and Blood and Thunder. And we're losing out on Spell Reflect, but we gain Stormbolt instead. So, really not that different. I'm not sure how this is going to play. It's just, it's like, what is our AoE rotation going to look like for Fury? Right? Think about this. So, okay, charge in your Rend, your Thunderclap to put Rend on a bunch of targets. Then you hit Ravager, okay, and then you Whirlwind, and then you spam Rampage, because Ravager is going to be building an insane amount of that, or an insane amount of rage. And okay, if you hit Recklessness, that's going to give us either an Avatar, which is going to give us more rage, and so that we're spamming more Rampage. We're going to have a lot of buttons, and oh wait, we even forgot about Odin's Fury. Oh boy. And I also forgot about Spirit Bastion, right? There's a lot of buttons to be hitting in AoE. That's going to be a little bit complicated. So, on the one hand, it seems fun. It seems like a crazy, just AoE fest, and that's kind of cool. On the other hand, that's a lot of potential buttons that we're going to be spending, and we still have one choice to make about, hey, do we get the bleed damage? Do we increase the length of Ravager? Do we get blood craze? Do we get fresh meat? Right? We still have 1 point to spend somewhere. We could be dumb and just get crit percent. Who cares? Now let's think about this from a more Titan's Grip sort of view. Right? So we're gonna get rid of that. We're gonna get Titan's Grip. We're gonna get that. Still, again, you want Ravager for sure. You want Ravager. We want some haste. Get anger management. I'm not so sure you get that, so let's hold off on that decision. Now we have 2 points to spend somewhere. We could either get Cold Steel Hot Blood, we could get Bloodborne, we could get Depths of Insanity, we could get Hack and Slash, we could get Storm of Steel, right? We have choices that we have to make. And honestly, I'm probably going with Cold Steel Hot Blood, just because that's a little bit of survivability and free damage. We don't know what the damage values are yet, so who knows. Then I'm going to get Bloodborne. I'm committing to Bloodborne because we're not going to be using Raging Blow as much in AoE. So the bleed damage probably seems better to me. And yeah, that's where we're at. All right. So that's some AoE builds for Fury. Now let's talk about some AoE builds for arms. Let's go back to our arms build and let's clear this out. Arms. All right. So again, the build that you're going to want to go for arms is basically the same as the Fury build. It's basically the same, right? Same. Bang, bang. Then backfill. Then rend. Then Stormbolt. Well, actually, for AoE, you would probably take Titanic Throw if all you care about is AoE. But, it's not that valuable because, again, it's ranged. So that's only assuming that you're going to be out of range of the target. So, whatever. Get Blood and Thunder. Excuse me. All right. Armor to the Teeth. Die by the Sword. Seismic Reverb. Even though you might not really be getting value out of this, but hey, whatever. We'll talk about that in a bit. Overwhelming Rage, Frothing Berserker, and then come back down, get Impending Victory, get War Machine, get Crushing Force. Same. The only thing is that now, for sure, you want to get Crushing Force because that actually does something for you. Not a lot because this is AoE, and we're going to hit a whole lot of other buttons, but hey, it does at least something. Alternatively, instead of getting Crushing Force, you could get Dauntless Duelist, but I don't know. I think Dauntless Duelist might actually be better than that, than 25% on Slam in AoE. It might be. This is a math problem. It'll get figured out. Reinforced Plates, for sure, get an Avatar. Probably not getting Signet. It doesn't seem like the play for arms, but there is also a world where you do get it, so we'll hold off on that for now. For sure, you're getting Spear, and you're probably getting Elysian Might. For sure, you're getting two-handed weapon spec. We have 3 more points we can spend on something, right? You could get Thunderous Roar, which for high target AoE might be okay. Right? We could do this, and we could get Thunderous Aftershocks. This seems kind of stinky. I would frankly still rather just take two-handed weapon spec. That honestly just seems better to me. Sure, this gives you a little bit of rage, and it gives you some extra damage, but just the free 5% just seems better, and that's kind of sad. They just need to buff Thunderous Roar, at least the tooltip damage on it. All right, moving on to the spec tree. Okay, grab Overpower, grab our usual stuff. All right, fine. Fervor of Battle, probably not taking that. maybe not, but whatever. Grab exhilarating blows. Now, in AoE, it becomes a much better proposition to be, at least in higher target AoE, it becomes a much more reasonable proposition to take something like concussive blows rather than exhilarating blows, because you're going to be using cleave more than you're going to be using Mortal Strike. And so, since this applies to Mortal Strike, if you're using Mortal Strike less, then hey, it's not so bad, right? So you could be doing that. Just for argument's sake, we'll say it's high target AoE, right? All right, now we need to fill in these. All right, fine. Now we can move on. We need to put in one here, either Fervor of Battle or Fueled by Violence. For argument's sake, we're going to take Fueled by Violence. Technically speaking, Fervor of Battle is still better because, again, it's free damage on Whirlwind. Okay, fine. Right? But Impale, Sweeping Strikes, Colossal Smash. Great, we need all that. For sure, taking Cleave. For sure, we're taking Cleave. Cleave is a lot better now. It is a lot better now. One, it's only 20 rage, which is great. And two, there's options of reducing the cooldown by 2 seconds, which is really good. The other thing is that martial prowess, sorry, I just had a brain fart. Sorry. Is that martial prowess, once again, is increasing the damage of Cleave. And so basically, instead of using Mortal Strikes, we're going to use Cleaves. Now, Anger Management is a very viable option here. Taking in for the kill is probably going to be better than taking Test of Might. But let's hold off on that, right? We want to get Dreadnought. We want to get improved Overpower. Because free damage, free AoE damage that's done passively as we cleave things is good. Now, we need to talk about either taking improved Sweeping Strikes or collateral damage. The answer is, well, the thing is that for some builds, for like a 2-target build, you're definitely going to play this game. For a single AoE, for a high-target AoE build, I'm not sure you go this route. I'm not so sure that you go this route. Actually, yeah, you probably do. You probably do. I'm gonna go with well, we have two choices. We have two choices, really. I'm a big fan of the Big Whirlwind. Editing Cautex here once again. So the choice between improved Sweeping Strikes and collateral damage is pretty much a non-choice, because even if you only do 4 overpowers over the course of the 12 seconds of a Sweeping Strikes, that's going to increase Whirlwind's damage by 100% for your next Whirlwind. When you start taking into account Storm of Swords and also Merciless Bone Grinder, having another 100% damage multiplier is an absolutely massive benefit, and it's pretty much always going to be the case that that damage that you're gaining is going to be worth more than 1 to 2 GCDs worth of longer Sweeping Strikes. At least, that's my gut feeling on it. I very well could be proven wrong because I didn't do any math here. I was lazy. But they're probably going to have to do something to improve Sweeping Strikes to make it worth taking. I'm a big fan of the Big Whirlwind. So let's go with collateral damage. Let's go with Sword of Storms. Sword of Storms is kind of a joke on the one hand. Like, I think it's really cool, but, like, it's cool because I like Big Number, and Big Number is funny to me. So, Sword of Storms, yeah, cool. Get that, get Blade Storm, and then, for sure, get Merciless Bone Grinder. Merciless Bone Grinder, applying to Cleave, is probably one of the best ideas that they've had. That is an insanely good idea for AoE. That makes it really, like, the ability to have just a Giga Whirlwind, right, with Sword of Storms, which now multiplies it by 200%, so that's really a 300%, like, you just multiply it by 3, and then having it do extra 60% damage, so 1.6 multiplier on that, that's huge. That seems fun. That seems fun. And then, in the meantime, you just spam Cleave as much as you can, right, in between, and then overpowers and etc. That seems cool. I like that they added it to Cleave. That's a really smart idea. And then the value provided by Sharpened Blades is probably better than the value provided by Blunt Instruments. Just as it stands right now, increasing the duration by 30% is going to add 3 seconds. That's all it's going to do. It's going to make it a 13-second Colossus Smash or Warbreaker if you grab that, which we do want to do. And you're probably going to want to grab Skullbanner because you want to be an ethical gamer, don't you? All right. How many points do we have left? We have 2 points left. But in general, Sharpened Blades is probably the play for that. Now, we have 1 point we can spend anywhere. We can get Exploiter. Probably not that useful in AoE. Or we can get Unhinged, which is probably what the play is for high target AoE. Or what we can do is we can get Anger Management. Or what we could do is we can get In for the Kill. I think that for high target AoE, probably, well, alternatively, we could also buff our bleeds, right? I think Anger Management is probably the play overall because it reduces the cooldown of Bladestorm and Colossus Smash / Warbreaker. So that's probably the most value in high target AoE, but it's more of a math problem between just Anger Management, In for the Kill / Test of Might, and getting or Unhinged, or getting Bloodborne. You can't get everything you want. You cannot get everything you want, but you can get a whole lot of things. And so that's an AoE build for ARMS. I'm not sure how to end this, so let's just go over some of the notes that I have and some miscellaneous thoughts. Things that are weird is that they clearly want ARMS to slow down a little bit in some areas and then speed up in others. They want it to slow down insofar as that Colossus Smash is now a 90-second cooldown. Not a 45. They literally doubled the cooldown on Colossus Smash. On the one hand, I get it. On the other hand, that really sucks. They definitely want ARMS to be a 1.5-minute class, right? They want it to line up with Avatar, and Colossus Smash to line up with Avatar, or fine, or Colossus Smash / Warbreaker, and Bladestorm lining up, and that would also line up with Skullbanner every other, and that's fine, but it's just going to make ARMS Warriors more bursty, rather than smoothing out their damage, or their damage profile. Editing Cautex here. So currently, Warbreaker is still a 45-second cooldown, while Colossus Smash is a 90-second cooldown. That seems wrong. All of the choices that I made with the builds that I did in this video were assuming that Colossus Smash and Warbreaker had the same cooldown length. I highly suspect that they're going to match Warbreaker to Colossus Smash, but if they don't, well then you have to take Warbreaker no matter what, every single time, always. And that'd be dumb. So I'm assuming that that's not really a thing. What else is on my notes? With Fatality it can make things kind of weird, especially for like a single target build, which here, 1 second, let me make one of those. Let me pause this and make it. And bang! All right, we have a single target build. Like, if we're taking Fatality, just like with Inkpod, you want to get the maximum value out of that proc, because it only happens once. And so you want to stack things to happen during this. Which means that if you're taking Fatality, you're going to want to hold cooldowns, or at least potentially you might need to hold cooldowns, in order to maximize the value of Fatality, right? We want to hold Avatar. We're going to want to hold Spirit of Bastion with Elysian Might, because we really want that Giga Execute to crit. We really want it to crit. And we really want to have Skullbanner and all of these other crit multipliers going at the same time. We really want that, and if you don't get the crit, well, that's a massive difference. A massive, massive difference. And so it's going to incentivize some very degenerate stuff to try to maximize the value of it. And if you get lucky RNG, if the dice roll for you, then it's going to be great. And if not, well, then you're shit out of luck. That kind of sucks. All right, so literally right after I hit render on this video, Blizzard posted that they are intending for Fatality to not be able to crit, so we're not going to have to worry about doing all these super degenerate things to hopefully get Fatality to crit, and so on and so forth. Thanks, Blizzard. Now, I also think that they should maybe consider doing the same thing, but making it so that it's not affected by Avatar or Colossus Smash either. That way, no degenerate thoughts will ever enter our brain, because it just simply won't matter. Another thing is Blizzard has had various opinions about crit multipliers for a long time, and usually they don't like to give you multiple sources of actual crit multipliers. They might say increases critical effect or critical damage, but to have a tooltip that's multiple tooltips that say increases critical strike damage, those are all full critical strike. Like, it literally takes the double damage and then it multiplies it by whatever percent. That is insanely strong, and Blizzard has clearly changed their minds and added a bunch of them back. As it stands right now, it is possible, now this is not necessarily good, but it is possible to get a baseline crit multiplier. So the default crit multiplier is 2, right? So it's 200% damage, right? You deal double damage with a crit. It is possible to have a constant of 2.88 as a multiplier. So it's almost 300% damage, right? Compared to the default of 2. And that's constant with Impale and if you were to get Sharpened Blades. Next, every minute, if you had Elysian Might, you would increase your crit multiplier to 3.6, right? So a crit would do 3.6 times the damage of a normal hit, which, that's insane. And you can kind of see where this is going, because then if you have Skullbanner, every 3 minutes, your crit multiplier would go up to 4.32. So literally, your crits would do quadruple damage every 3 minutes. More than quadruple. That's, on the one hand, that's kind of cool. On the other hand, like, yeah, you really have to, like, hard commit to trying to do that because it's locked behind getting Bladestorm, which for a single target, that's stinky, but if it was an AoE situation, okay, fine. This is a very interesting change of opinion that Blizzard has had, because it's like, oh, well, why not just give them a whole bunch of crit multipliers and make their crits insane? Now, imagine getting that quadruple multiplier and getting Fatality. I don't think that that's actually possible. Hold on, let me see if you can. Okay, it is not possible to get Fatality and the quadruple 3-minute crit multiplier. So that's fine, I guess. But still, the point is that crit is going to be just unbelievably valuable for Arms Warriors. Like, like, if the item doesn't have crit on it, depending on the exact build that you go, if the item doesn't have crit, it's not going to be worth it to you. It just will be a bad item. And so that creates problems for itemization, because you're going to feel bad getting items that don't have crit. Yeah. All right. Now, that's, I think, everything that I wanted to talk about initially. There's certainly going to be a whole lot more. I've got a lot of thinking to do. Everybody else has got a lot of thinking to do. There's lots of math to be done. There's lots of just testing and playing things out that needs to be done. I want to know what you guys' thoughts are. How do you feel about the Fury trees? How do you feel about the Arms trees? How do you feel about just the placement of some of the talents, right? For example, the fact that, like, Fury has to take Crushing Blow to get Dauntless Duelist. Are you okay with that? What about Blood Surge being locked behind Sweeping Strikes? Are you okay with that? Right? Where's a Fury tree, right? Having improved Whirlwind block Titan's Grip. Should these be changed? I mean, I know that I want them to be changed, and I don't see a reason why they shouldn't be. But are you overall happy with the Fury trees? I think that I am. I think that they can be improved. But I think that there's a lot there. I wish, though, that there wasn't so much throughput. As weird as it is to say, like, because, hey, having more throughput is always good. I wish that there was the choice to take more utility. Because it feels bad to take all the utility that I used to have, right? There wasn't one time when we were talking through where I actively took Intimidating Shout. Having that as a stop is valuable. But, like, I just don't want to take it because, what does it do for me? Not much. Sure, I could take that instead of Impending Victory or Piercing Howl, but, it just the way things are set up, I want to be able to have all of my kit, and I can't have all of my kit. So that's the other thing that I would change is, ideally, give us some more utility. And I guess the way that I would do that, frankly, is just delete this row. Delete the row that gives us stats, right? Still keep the same requirements of requiring 20 and whatever. But if you just delete that row, that's 4 or so talents that we can spend on utility so that we can feel cool when we do stuff, or we can have solutions to problems that are like presented to us. I think that that's really good. Other things that I want to see, or at least I would like to see, is, now this is just a testing thing, I want to see how Fracture actually works, because it says it has a 45-second cooldown, and that's weird, considering that I guess it would be for every other Skull Splitter, or something like that. But what does it actually mean that they expire 200% faster? Does that mean that the dot speed, like they just tick twice as fast and then end in half the time? Excuse me. I'm assuming that that's what that means. I don't know. We're going to have to see if that's even worth it, because that means just spending more rage. That fills up more GCDs, at least for Rend. For Deep Wounds, it really doesn't matter, because we're going to be using Mortal Strike so often that we're going to have 100% uptime on Deep Wounds. But do we even need the rage out of Skull Splitter, especially with something like Blood Surge? Maybe, instead of going this path and getting Sweeping Strikes, Punishment, and Blood Surge, we would go Skull Splitter instead of and Fracture. I know that this is super disjointed. I'm sorry. I've kind of lost the plot. It's about an hour in, and so I don't remember every single thing that I've said at this point. Yeah. I like the idea. Well, what else? Yeah, that's all I got for you. I think, for now, I know that I forgot things. Tell me everything that I missed, because there's surely lots of it, so hit me up in the comments. Make suggestions about these builds. I did not look at any of the Warrior Discord stuff at all, because I wanted to do this sort of blind. I wanted to come up with this on my own and see how this is. So there's probably some very smart people who have come up with things that are infinitely better than my ideas. So make fun of me and use their information to tell me why I'm wrong, because I'm sure that there's mistakes that I'm making and there's synergies that I'm missing. So please, tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why my opinions are dumb in the comments. And yeah, lastly, I just want to say thank you for watching this video, and subscribe for more.